believe I exist as well.
Hello, and welcome to another wonderful episode of Submitted for Your Approval, the weekly card review show for Collective, the community-created card game where you watching right now, and only you, make the cards. I'm joined today by my faithful co-host, Grief. Say hi, Grief.
Howdy, folks.
No, you're supposed to say hi, Grief. No. We're also joined today by my slightly blurry co-host, Empty Folder. You got something going on with your light there.
Oh yeah, I have to have extra light because it's too cloudy on for the natural light. Hello, everyone.
Okay, and we are also joined today by a special guest who has been missing from the Discord for a while there. We missed you very much, but now you're back. Everyone say hello to Magneter.
Good day, I'm live.
Okay, so I'm gonna jump straight into it with the accepted submissions. These cards are in the game, and there's nothing you can do about it. Starting with the Sacrosanct Sigil is a 2-drop spell from Seraphel with give your lowest attack unit +1/+1, repeat this twice. So besides the not having the random verbiage, which is whatever, this is really, really cute. I guess it would then go to your oldest, lowest attack unit, which is a sensible way to approach this. Just a good little sort of a scattered buff. Of course, this is normally good for more like aggro-y type strategies where you're low to the ground and want to give all your guys a buff, or do you want to do this when you only got one guy and just give them all the buffs? I don't really know. Grief, what do you think of this?
Technically this could actually have make 3 1/1s into 3 2/2s.
Mm-hmm.
So you can basically mix and match however you want. Sure, you can. I think it's more or less the flexibility in itself that's the important part. Not really much, not really the application when you want to do it, because it's basically fitting anywhere.
Yeah.
Whatever type you give gameplay you're following, if you're going tall or if you're going wide.
What do you think of the card?
Whatever. I'm not really that kind of. I personally prefer controlled stacks, so this is not really something that I care about.
I see. Empty, what do you think of this?
Yeah, pretty fine card. It's sort of a really nice way to protect your 1-drop if you have initiative, since 2 is usually where your 1-drop gets removed and you get screwed out of your early XP. So having this to like give it a really big buff and make sure your opponent can't remove it could be nice.
Yeah. Magneter, what do you think of this?
I mean, it feels kind of weird because Heldim is basically the only viable strength. I guess Permo is as well, but Permo wouldn't use this. Permo just cheats out the big units anyway. And I feel like if you're going tall, this usually wouldn't be that useful because, well, you usually don't have just one unit on the board, but the one unit you actually care about is not your lowest 8k unit, probably. Maybe in Wax, which is kind of a strength deck which goes wide. It's not a good strength deck, but it sure is a strength deck.
Yeah.
And you could maybe replay this with that 3-cost Wax action, which plays an action from the graveyard. Whatever it was called.
Overall, it's a cool little card, and I thought it was really neat. The Safety Net is a 1-drop mind object from Carthian with bounce an ally, and you may play this after blocks have been declared. So yeah, Filthy Casual went around coming with a bunch of circus cards. Not a mystical circus, mind you, just a regular, well, slightly weird circus for Carthian. And I think this was the only one that got in, so it's going to be sort of an odd one out until more of those end up showing up. But it's kind of neat. I really like bounce, and the additional versatility, being able to play this after blocks have been declared, is really neat. Grief, what do you think of this?
It's either a combo piece where you self-bounce, but we think we have better tools with Tractor Beam and such. Besides that, it's very cool for combat shenanigans, since we do have Trick, but that's after attacks are declared. With this kind of card, we can actually interact with the blocking phase as well, which is at least something unique. So that's at least a plus in my book.
MT, what do you think of this?
Yeah, I like that we're sort of exploring these combat trick-like effects outside of trick, because that's just one application of like this sort of design space. And I think this is a great way of sort of expanding that into messing around with your board after your opponent declares blocks. The card itself seems a little weak. I think the like circus actor that generated this would have made this a bit more viable, but it's a neat design.
Magneto, what do you think of this?
Honestly, I feel like with being able to play this after blockers have been declared, it seems kind of strong potentially. I mean, because
Well, I mean, you could use it for a couple fake outs.
yeah,
But
but
you
it,
still, of course, have to replay the unit at that point.
well, yeah, but it's, yeah, I guess I don't know, to be honest.
Yeah, it's kind of similar almost to like a reconnaissance effect, which is like a really, really, really old MTG card that let you just remove things from combat. I think that in effect is how this works a lot of the time. And there it's like, oh, well, it makes it safe for you to go through with more attackers because you can just take whatever ones would be blocked and then pull them back, which is really, really neat.
I just wonder, are we gonna keyword you may play this after blocks have been declared as well?
Maybe when we have 3 designs to do it. Call it trick 2, I don't know. Blood of the Sacrificed is a 1-drop neutral action from the Icorian sect, which is create 3 sacrificed blood. The sacrificed blood is a 0-drop neutral 0/1 undead cultist blood from the Icorian sect, and can't attack, can't block, and entomb. You gain 1 HP. So this is kind of a sort of a glowstone mine type. Oh, get a bunch of things that I could then potentially, you know, get a little bit of resources off of and self-sack. You know, I don't think anybody's running Doomsday except me and my casual SP shenanigans. So, Empty, what do you think of this?
Yeah, I'm really glad we got this card. This has felt very needed for a very long time. That we finally get a card that is really good at generating some sack fodder for all the strength cards that just want sack fodder so badly. And then on the other side, you can do like some really neat cultist shenanigans because this makes 3 cultists for 1 mana. So if you're doing like some weird thing with Polyphony or any of the other like cultist synergy cards, like this is a super efficient way to just get a ton of cultists on the board for really cheap. I think this is going to be a great card.
Magneto, what do you think of this?
I think it's, first of all, actually, blood is a pretty weird tribal type, I think. But I think it's pretty cool with the cultist for cultist tribal, albeit only for legacy, I guess, because you can't really do cultist tribal in standard, I think. I mean, you sure can, but I don't think it would be good. But to be honest, I'm not sure if strength self-sack decks actually do need more sack fodder, because I feel like usually you are just trying to get the payoffs for sacrificing your units from, say, something like Bakula. But I usually actually didn't have enough ways to kill my own units rather than not having units to kill, I think.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. It would be nice if we had a couple more things like sort of mini effects that maybe you said sacrifice any number of units or something, or that let you sacrifice multiple units or something would be nice. Grief, what do you think of this?
Cool card, fetchable with a flagon because it's a blood card, therefore we can actually search it out of the deck. Interesting design space, actually pretty nifty considering how close it is to glowstones, that it still gives you tokens, but they cannot really interact with the board, they're just there as sack fodder. And unlike the draw effect where it burns you, this is just a neat little life gain, so even Pain decks could potentially get something out of this. For the post-Baldwin update, these could then actually grab you a 2-cost unit. one cost unit. I don't remember how large the margin is for the promotion effect on the new Baldwin.
Yeah. And Drown Wires is a 2-drop neutral action from nowhere in particular with create a fading copy of an ally unit and ready it. So I love copy effects. They're some of my favorite things in the game. Of course, the fading limitation is a pretty interesting thing to work around. Obvious stuff you can do with it. You could chain it together with entrances. If you have means to guarantee the unit's probably going to die, like if you're putting on a duelist, you can maybe chain this together with Entombs. Or you can just use this to double up damage in anything that has a particularly big, nasty unit. Or no, I guess doesn't give it agile or anything. So that presents an interesting conundrum, and you're mostly stuck doing this with entrances and entombs. If you have a mean to get rid of it. Magneto, what do you think of this?
It readies the unit.
Oh, it readies it. Blah. Sorry, I'm tired today.
Yeah, but I was mostly also thinking, I guess, in terms of entrance effects, which are pretty cool in general, but I don't think we have enough. We don't really have enough entrance nor entrance retriggering effects for an entrance deck to be good, I think. But maybe at some point. But this could also actually be strong with perhaps copying a unit with some sort of strong passive. If, for example, Dunewalkers have a couple ones like that. What was the one which Blood Witch, whatever she was called.
Or one which use this in Dunewalkers to get a copy of one of your other guys down so it can go in for damage securely without.
Yeah, but like the card which creates free mirages.
Anasi.
Yeah, that probably could be good as well.
Well, at that point, you're flooding your board. You don't need. That's kind of a win more type thing, but yeah, getting something small on the ground like Blood Witch or Soul Warder maybe. Grief, what do you think of this?
Just a cool little copy effect. Nothing really too exciting. It's basically just okay. Make a second copy of a good unit, be it aggressive, be it defensive, maybe an active that you want to reuse. Because of the readying effect, you have pretty much freedom in what you want to do and what kind of strategy you want to put this in. I can see this probably also being used in some combo decks where you actually need 2 copies of a specific unit. Besides that, well, it's a fading token, so make the best out of that turn.
As far as jank stuff go, doesn't Evo Villainous's cask an entrance or a summon? That would be fun. Just use this to get more casks and then evolve out your copy.
It's an entrance, I'm pretty sure.
Awesome. That's my jank suggestion for this card. MD, what do you think of this?
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, I think this is a card that most benefits like mid-range, which we don't have a ton of right now. You might be able to get away with running this in Lazabo because they have a decent number of entrance effects, but like honestly, that list is super tight, so could be hard to fit in, especially because there's a very high risk with this card that it's just dead a lot of the time, since you require very specific units in play for it to actually be worth it.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. It does seem kind of specialized. Okay, now these cards are not in the collection, so don't go looking for them in the editor. These cards are cards you can add to your deck, and or can add to your deck once they get voted in. And if they don't get voted in, then you can't add them to your deck. So these are called active submissions.
In short, you can go to the subreddit and vote on them, downvote them, or be completely ignore them.
No, upvote them all. Just total anarchy. I want every vote tied. I want to see what happens then. The Gravetender's Shovel is a 2-drop spirit equipment from Walnox. With return a unit in your graveyard to your hand and permanently give it +2/+2. So I like reanimator shenanigans. This also is an equipment which could be useful. I think this slots in pretty nicely to almost any spirit deck. I mean, it's very hard to find a deck where there's not a unit you want to recur. It is a little slow, and you do have to pay the cost of the thing. But I could see definitely maybe using this in aggro or other things that have a means to, especially if you have a unit that has means to recur itself naturally, giving it a little bit of a buff can be pretty helpful. But yeah, you kind of want to tend to play this with things that are a little bit lower to the ground. MT, what do you think of this?
Really, really strong with Road Mania. Like that is going to be the main synergy that you're running this for. And then basically you want to have the rest of your deck structured where if you don't get your Road Maniac, this is still okay. But yeah, the Road Maniac synergy is just disgusting. Like that's really, really strong. And I kind of struggle to see where else it fits right now. I guess sort of undead, but honestly, they already have like a decent amount of recursion. And the problem is like you're bringing it back to your hand. So if it has a self-recursion ability, like you're wasting that unless you can discard it again, which is a lot of work.
Magneto, what do you think of this?
Well, I can't really see where it could be used, to be honest. Like, I guess with the Road Maniac, but that seems about it. I don't think that, at least the current undead deck, like the one I've been running, I suppose you can get the Bone Fetcher from graveyard to draw a card, but that doesn't seem that great.
Yeah. Grief, what do you think of this?
Yeah, okay. The thing is, like, if this could have allowed you to recur an action as well, there would be more flexibility. Besides that, well, it's just a typical, okay, pay to return the card to hand. In this case, maybe you have something low to the ground like the Worms or the Road Maniac that actually benefits from having more attack permanently, etc. Those are basically the only things, and already have been mentioned. There's nothing really much about that card.
Yeah, it's nice and simple, and I just really like. I like recursion, so it's good to have some general recursion. Okie dokie then. Cronix Command is a 3-drop strength exclusive action from Unguia, which just simply reads: choose twice, time to duel, spilled grail, scavenge, and Lisa Boy. So just for reference, all of those effects have in common that they are 1-drop strength cards, but they're all in the collection, so I'm not going to read them all to you. So this is pretty neat. I'm guessing choose twice doesn't mean choose 2, so you could choose the same effect twice.
You can.
Which is really neat. This seems to be a really nice, really versatile thing. Of course, it references the command cycle from MTG, but you know, we could still do something similar to this. I love effects like this, and I'd love to see an effect like this, maybe in all colors. I do think the one place this maybe kind of suffers is that it's going for Cronekk and trying to be a flavorful reference, and then only 2 of the cards at most, if I'm being generous, reference Cronekk or reference the Lisa Unguia faction, because one is just Lisa Boy, and the other one is Time to Duel, which was a token off of another Lisa as well. So the flavor, I would say, is weak, but the effect is really cool. Grief, what do you think of this?
What does the card do?
It lets you choose 2 of those cards, and I'm guessing play them. It's sort of ambiguous.
Yes. No, it plays them.
Yep.
What cost does this card have?
3.
Yeah, okay, now look at every damn situation where you can play a versatile card that allows you to either put 2 units on the board, allow you to have a duelist on board, draw 2 cards with your opponent, duel something away, duel a token into something, and then scavenge it as a hard removal. This card is pretty damn overtuned, and I've played it against it in a limited environment already, and as a fucking as a balance pass, this should have been at 5, not at 3 exclusive. This card is extremely overtuned for the versatility that you get out of it.
I don't know if I agree with 5. I could see maybe 4. I could see your argument for that, because you do get so many options for it, and a lot of them, I think, well, let's take a look at it. So Spilled
Yeah,
Grail.
so the thing is, Negotiate saw a ton of play, and that was 3 mana. Both players draw 4 cards.
Yeah.
This is just strictly better than that,
Yeah.
and like a lot better too. Because like
You're
that's
you're forgetting you have to add that the tax of paying for the versatility is very minute in this case.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure. Together they cost one more mana, but that also means that one card replaces 2.
Yeah, the
Or in
problem
this
that
case,
it has is that it's
8.
just a lot of these effects, like Time to Duel, like Scavenge, they net so much card advantage. I mean, Spilled Grail does not net card advantage. You're actually, no matter what, you're losing on the Spilled Grail play. But unless, of course, your opponent has way too many cards in hand anyway. But yeah, the fact that so many of these grant card advantages, now that I'm seeing that, that's an issue. I just like this kind of effect, but I think, yeah, maybe this could go up to 4, maybe up to 5. Empty, what do you think?
Yeah, I just agree with Grief. This is a neat effect. This needs to cost more. It's way too overtuned right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this goes to show that 1+1 does not always equal 2 when you're balancing. This versatility is really kind of an issue. I do not actually like the wording "choose twice," but I understand it because
yeah, it could be cleaned up a little.
Fair. Magneter, what do you think of this?
I feel like one problem with this is just that I think all of these cards, maybe besides Lisa Boy, would kind of be too powerful on their own in current standard, I think. I'm not sure about Spilled Grail, but Scavenge and Time to Duel definitely would be too strong as cards on their own in current standard. Like, and not even just with the new removal curve, which is relatively recent, but like Scavenge, I think would have been pretty damn strong even last standard. Time to Duel perhaps as well. You could do Spilled Grail with the Lisa Bow, which deals damage when a player draws an additional card in pain, to get 4 pain procs out of that, and also deal 4 damage to your opponent for 3 mana, which is
I think my thing on this would be to not pick so many cards that give you like CA and whatnot, and then bump this to 4. Like this particular set of cards and how much CA they generate, and the fact that it's only 3 mana for a card that can like +2, maybe +3 you under certain circumstances is pretty scary. Okie dokie then. The Thematichron is a 10-drop mind 8/5 Nightmare Construct from Walnocked. With summon, draw a card, and this costs 1 less for each unique base cost in your graveyard, ranging from 0 to 9. So in short, the summon's kind of a take it or leave it thing. It doesn't really, I mean, it's nice that it replaces itself. The exciting thing about this thing is the opportunity to get an 8/5 for up to 0, depending on what's going on. Even though it's a vanilla, it's still potentially pretty potent, and of course it replaces itself. So, Grief, I want to hear what you think of this card.
I really pick cards from my own realm. But this is, first of all, new designer, and I don't know what this thing is, but I completely love it. It's okay. I only have for Walnocked, I have only one rule only that has to do with card movement. So from deck to graveyard, from graveyard to field, whatever. Okay, this draws a card. It counts cards in the graveyard. Counts naming the naming scheme of a nightmare and Walnut can be worked on.
Yeah.
Regardless of that, I love it. It's just such a cute little card. It's basically just a Timmy good stuff card that is your typical go-to, okay, I don't really know the interactions of self-milling myself or discarding. Here I have a big beat stick that replaces itself. Go for it. Works in limited, works in constructed to some extent. This is just cute.
It is a little iffy from a UI perspective if you have a lot of stuff that changes costs, because it does rely on what their base cost was. So cost manipulation effects do not actually help you here. And that alone is sort of an interesting thing to note about it. But so it does force you to play honest, which I think is really, really nice for this kind of effect. Again, yeah, with the flavor, it's just kind of, I don't know what's going on with this guy, but he looks snazzy. MT, what do you think of this?
Yeah, really neat design. I don't think it needed the ranging from 0 to 9. It's like a little bit weird, but it's fine. You do have to put in a good chunk of effort for this to really be worth it. I don't think for a standard, like that's pretty difficult. We don't have a ton of milling, but I don't know, if you're running like some weird legacy deck or something in Coliseum, it could be really fun. It's just a wacky card.
I mean, at the end of the day, it is just vanilla, but it's still kind of nice to get it out for cheap. It is not a build around because the payoff is not good enough to make it a build around. But for a card that's already doing a deck that's already doing a lot of mill, this is a great include, I'd say. Magneter, what do you think?
It's also very interesting. Oh, sorry. It's also a very interesting reanimation target.
Yeah. Magneter, what do you think of this?
I like its art, kind of, even though I'm not sure if it has any flavor. But I feel like it's really weak.
I'm going to push back
really
on you
weak.
saying it doesn't have any flavor. I think it's very thematic. It's the Thematichron. Okay, now keep going.
Oh
God. Good grief.
Oh God. I think it's very weak. I think it would be pretty difficult to get it discounted by like even 5. And even at 5 discount, it's pretty weak. I think so. Even like especially maybe even in Legacy, because I think that like the Legacy self-mill Nightmares deck doesn't really run that many expensive units. I think its curve usually ends pretty much around 6, maybe 5 even. So, and in Standard we don't really have that many mill effects, and the ones we do I think are more so in Spirit, if anything.
So here's my thoughts on this. I do actually like a lot of what Magneter had to say. I think this effect is really cute and it could maybe get in as is. It's standing at 7. If anyone's maybe looking to update this in the future, somehow it doesn't get in. The ranging from 0 to 9, we could probably just crunch that from to say unique base cost in your graveyard from 0 to 9, right? I don't think this needs the word ranging there. And then that would free up a line and then drop 2 keywords on this guy. Maybe one of them be agile. Like, don't go too nuts with the choice of keywords. And I think that would make it just sparkle that much more.
Make it draw 2.
Or yeah, draw, yeah, something like that. Yeah, I think if this was maybe, this could use a little bit of spice to push it over the edge. Because that condition is really, really tricky to meet, but it is a really, really neat condition. And I think that alone is part of the reason why it's sitting about 7 and why it's pretty liable to get in the game right now. But we will see, always room to be surprised. The Dimensional Intruder is a 5-drop mine, 5/4 alien from nowhere in particular, with at the end of the turn, if you have 5 available mana, summon this from your deck. Oh joy. Magneter, what do you think of this?
Summon isn't a word in Collective. How am I supposed to know what
play
this card does?
from your deck, give Entropic some,
yeah,
cut him some slack.
But I think that,
and it is a word in Collective, by the way. It just doesn't mean that.
Is it a word? Do we use it for anything at all?
Summon effects? We just had a summon card.
Guys, Magneter's never heard of summon effects.
Whatever.
Anyways, keep going.
Uh, yeah, but I think it's pretty weak for the most part because I don't think a 5 mana 5/4 is going to be that useful even if you aren't paying any CA for it. I feel like maybe if could it a keyword like ambush or something. It
I
could
think,
perhaps be
yeah, for an
useful.
intruder having one of ambush or agile, I like. And that, or well, I guess it plays at the end of the turn, so you actually have to.
Oh wait,
ambush or agile
right.
doesn't make any sense.
Right, ambush isn't useful. I'm not sure why I interpreted it somehow because I was thinking of it as if it came into play before combat, right?
Yeah, Magneto, you're like batting 0 right now. You're not doing so hot. Okay, okay. So here's my
This just means that it
suggestions.
should go into play before combat.
So yeah, my suggestions is before combat, change if it's the end of the turn. If you have 5 available mana, play this from your deck, ready it. I think that would work. I think that would be better. It does have the advantage, Magneto, and you kind of neglected this, of filtering. But I think if you had this where it playing itself from the deck was the way to play it, so not like give it ambush, give it agile, but actually encourage it to do its gimmick, I think that would come off a lot more interesting. But that's sort of a personal opinion on it. As is, I see what you mean. It's a vanilla. It doesn't really do much, especially since it plays at the end of turn. Grief, what do you think of this?
I love the concept. I like invocation effects from Shadowverse, but this needs ready entrance ready, because yeah, it needs to be actually before combat, and it needs to actually function even if you're hard playing it, because the moment you draw it, you're cursing yourself.
Yeah.
And your life choices you've made. That's the thing with invocation cards in Shadowverse. They either have a beneficial extra effect when they are summoned from your deck, they have an interesting trigger mechanic on how to summon themselves for free from the deck, not just having stuff open. And they also function as hard casted. So to the point where, oh yeah, cool. You haven't seen me. It's turn 10 now, and you haven't seen me in your hand. Okay, I don't care. I'm now from your deck into the board. Something like that. So this needs to work even if you've drawn into it. So first of all, yeah, before combat, that makes sense. But entrance ready this.
Yeah, or something similar. Okay, I can see the argument for that as well. MT, what do you think of this?
Yeah, so I think the main problem with this is that the wording needs to be cleaned up a little bit. Because how this currently works is it checks if you have the available mana, and then if you have it, it just comes from your deck into play. So if you're running 3 copies of these, when you hit turn 5, they just all come in.
Oh
It
yeah,
doesn't
you
spend the
don't
mana.
pay for them. Oops.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then like you can also run this in like Fusion Project in order to cheat out like some massive combination with this guy.
There are better things in Fusion Project, to be honest.
That would be the first time I've seen them, because when I played against Fusion Project, I thought the
Baby
deck was
Sweet's
really
the card
bad.
which sets its cost to 1 if you play the feed card that turn, or food. For example.
Magneto, you have to consider though, this would be the first alteration of a Fusion Project deck that actually can run stuff that's that actually increases cost up to 7 or 8, because everything that this card is on gets itself for free into the board.
I guess.
Yeah. MT, did you have anything else to add, or you want to move on?
Yeah, I agree with Grief. I think this needs something where like if you draw it, it's not completely worthless. Maybe having its like normal costs be lower, so that playing it's not just the worst.
Yeah, and the wording should make it clear that you do pay the cost for the card.
Yeah. Well, and the block should reflect that too.
Yes. Okay. Arcane Overabundance is a 4-drop spirit action from nowhere in particular with draw all but 3 cards. So this was the effort of Monsterland and Filthy Casual. I think this is mostly a Monsterland thing, right? And then we talked about this on the show before. I gotta tell you, seeing these designs, it kind of just makes me scratch my head. But I know that there are a lot of people who like doing stuff like this. I mean, I'm the guy who tried to build Doomsday and it didn't work. So nobody wanted my take on Doomsday. So let's do this take on Enter the Infinite. Empty, what do you think of this?
It's a really cool idea, but it's a cool idea up until the point where this just wins the game on turn 4. In Standard, I don't think you can do it, but in Legacy, you can. Grief. How can you win on turn 4 with this in Legacy?
Oh shit. Besides hand looping bullshit shenanigans with Orchestra and Dreamer, where you basically set yourself up to entirely rip your opponent's hand apart, reshuffle your stuff from back to the deck, and actually, I think there are some loop shenanigans where you can actually repeat that ad nauseum, but it does not really come to mind. You can actually do some honeypot shenanigans, but honeypot breaks everything. Besides that, I haven't really taken too much interest in the card, so I was kind of, since our last week's iteration of but 10% left in your deck, this is way better and cleaner. But yeah, in Legacy, this will probably break some shit.
Magneto, what do you think of this?
Honestly, I don't know. I have no idea. I was trying to figure out what you could use it for, but I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
In Standard, at least. Like
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything you can use it for in Standard, to be honest.
I mean, when I look at a
Gop.
card like this, I kind of just have to say not my cup of tea and just move on.
Gop.
There's not really a lot I can add to the discussion.
Gop, combos.
Oh yeah.
I think.
Yeah, you draw your
Right.
entire hand, have Gop in hand, have 13 cards in hand, because the rest is dumped to the graveyard anyway, and you don't really give a shit. You're just playing out your hand, turn 4.
Okay, yeah, no,
Turn
that's
5.
interesting. That sounds fun. That sounds fun.
That sounds fun and interactive.
I didn't say interactive, I said fun. And I didn't say who it would be fun for.
I mean, that's still like so much more interactive than the Simta combos running around. Like, I'd play against that any day.
Are people
Defend-
doing?
defend
Are people
that.
really doing Simta Overlurker Kitsune?
I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, that wasn't the stronger combo I saw was Monsterland was running a combo with the it was the Stranger Side card which discards 2 specters from hand and gains their abilities.
That's
No,
not
that's
my
Spike
design.
Birds.
It wasn't?
No,
Oh, yeah.
That's spikes. Yeah.
But I think it was. Never mind.
Because it's
This
got
card,
cards with
anyway,
Carthian.
which used Headless Headhuntress to deal like 25 damage or so.
Yeah, that
Something with
one,
the
that one
Brandisher.
too. The difference with that one is that you can actually like sort of stop it. With the Simta one, as soon as they play Simta, it's already like it's over.
I don't know. Honestly, I feel like the Simta combo isn't even that good compared to that one.
Yeah. I don't know. Moving on. Okie doke. The Good Doctor is a 1-drop spirit 0/2 scientist shapeshifter from Duskmere. With Slay, transform this, and active, deal 1 damage to a unit, its owner draws a card. The Galthmore Beast is a 2-drop spirit 3/2 wolf shapeshifter with Agile. So this is one of the trippier VQ GAN arts to go around, and this is part of Gokun's, I don't know why, but actually a couple minutes before we started the show, because there was the outage, he flooded the sub with a bunch of resubs to where he's like, I think more than half of the stuff on the subreddit, and we've so far avoided picking any of it, except for this one. Maybe we picked another one, I can't remember. So yeah, Slay transform this, active, deal 1 damage to a unit. You can also use that active for like pings and card advantage, but I don't even know if you want to transform this guy. It's just so goofy, and I don't know how to make heads or tails of it. Grief, what do you think of this? Is there something I'm missing?
I mean, it's a card advantage engine.
Yeah.
In a deck where you don't want to, does Slay trigger on your own units?
It should.
Yeah.
Yeah, then in that case, you never really want to kill off your stuff.
Yeah, I basically don't see why you would ever want to.
You basically want to play this in a deck where you can actually actively have a regenerate unit that you can ping off. Ping each turn, it regenerates back, you draw a card. This dude has no protection. If you want to play an extremely aggressive strat, you're using this as a pinger against your opponent and giving them a card, which may or may not be actually pretty bad for you. Sure, you now have a 3/2 agile dude, but you've went kind of card advantage neutral. And depending on the matchup, that's not even a possibility for you.
Yeah, see, flavor-wise, this is maybe cool. I really do like the flavor on this, honestly, especially with like the flavor text and the really trippy BQ Gan art. Some of the best art I've seen BQ Gan do. But effect-wise, transforming this is basically the worst thing you can have happen. And so to me, this just seems like a card draw engine for an Endure deck, if such a thing were to exist.
And
I
that
don't
or
really.
the late pinger with an aggro unit basically does that. Those are the two sides of the coin.
Yeah. MT, what do you think of this?
I don't know. I think this is really good. Like you get the option to either go for like having a long-term card advantage engine that like is a 1-mana O2 that can draw you a card every turn. And like the 1 damage, if you're running this in like dot or something, your units are so tanky that you'd like never care about it. You just keep 1 up for your XP and then just get a card every turn. And then if you're playing against like Heldem or something, like they play their 1-drop and next turn you like remove it with this active and then just get really good tempo. Like any deck that plays 1 HP stuff, it's like really good. I think it's very strong.
I now just noticed it costs 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was a 2-cost unit.
No, that would be balanced.
Wait a sec. Hold on. I think I've caught something else about this. Transform says banish this and then create the other half in play, right?
Yeah.
Can this slay itself?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It can just destroy itself.
You have,
yeah, it's nuts.
That's okay. Yeah, the card is ridiculous.
Magneter, what do you think of this?
Well, I'd want it in strength or neutral for rage.
Yeah, it would be nice in rage, honestly. I mean, maybe adjusting for the problems or the potential shenanigans that we discovered we could pull off with this card in the last 2 minutes.
Yeah, I mean,
This card costs 1.
Overall, well, I don't know about the cost. I'm not really a balanced guy, so I won't comment on that. First, my thought was that was okay, and this thing was still way too slow and unprotected for it to matter. But now that we're seeing some of this other stuff, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
You don't need protection on a 1-drop. Like if you just make this ping itself and then your opponent has to remove it so you don't get a free 3/2 and an extra card.
Exactly.
Like that's
Yeah.
already, you're so far ahead.
Yeah, good point. Okie dokie then. The Sparkfire Whip is a 1-drop strength equipment from Talira with deal 1 damage to a unit, then ready it. If it's allied, draw a card. Neat little rage support. I could see you maybe using this to pick off a 1-drop, and that's really nice. That's a nice utility for it. Or so it only has 1 HP left. Overall, pretty neat. Magneter, what do you think of this?
Well, it's Rage support, and as I've said, I think Rage is a pretty cool deck, albeit not a strong one. And I think that Rage does actually need Rage things which can actually proc Rage. Because even though it has a couple, I still feel like it probably needs more. Because for the card, the Rage Quest is usually way too slow with the current card pool, I think. And I mean, yeah, it's kind of similar to Correlated Blast in the sense that you can use it to kill an enemy unit, as well as using it for Rage, which is pretty neat, I think.
Grief, what do you think of this?
It's a 1-mana, 1-damage pinger that has a taunt effect on it. Occasionally draws you a card. Basically it.
It also does have, yeah, that ready effect, which I wonder if you could do anything interesting with that. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Well, Duelist, I guess, but you'd have to have something that doesn't care about that 1 damage being dealt to it. Sam the Ram? In SP? I don't know what else.
Active units like the one that just can basically kill itself afterwards.
Yeah.
Drawing you 2 cards, attacking with the 3/2.
MT, what do you think of this?
Yeah, I mean, it's like very fine Rage support. They really need some more interaction. Right now, the deck just kind of tries to do its game plan. It doesn't really, stop the opponents much. And Rage is just kind of slower than a lot of the other game plans out there right now. So pushing them in sort of a more light control direction will be good for the deck, I think.
Mm-hmm. And the Splatter Spreader is a 1-drop spirit, 1/1 ooze from Mortstall with this costs 2 more and summon, destroy an ally unit, and ally units get +1/+1. I go back and forth on this one because I went on the Discord on the Card Lab and I'm like, I don't get what this says. And Cornmeal's like, oh, so Mist Fist, this has a base cost of 1, but it has the summon and it gives you this board buff. And then I was like, okay, I guess I kind of understand it. And then I come back this morning and I'm like, I still really don't feel like I get it. MT, what do you think of this?
I don't get it either. I don't understand why it couldn't just cost 3 mana.
Mist Fist was the answer I received for that.
But if it costs 3, you
cost
just wouldn't get it off Mist Fist.
But
it has a base cost of 1, which is what's a lot of those.
But why is it relevant that you get it off Mist Fist? It's just actually, a 1/1 with no text if you get it off Mist Fist.
No, it's like the Mist Fist deck. So like big boy, it gets a 2nd unit off.
But the Mist Fist deck is like, okay, it's mined for 1.
Yeah.
But the actual like viable Mist Fist deck is in promo where you just play chimps, and this doesn't fit there either.
Yeah.
I really don't get it. I'm very confused by this.
Yeah, from my understanding, it was just supposed to have some Misfit synergies and have that destroy an ally unit as a way to help prop up like aggro. But I agree with you on everything you said. It baffles me a little bit. Magnier, what do you think of this?
I interpreted the cost increase as being an in-play effect.
I also had that problem.
Now that I think of it, it would indeed be perhaps a tad bit too strong as a 1-cost unit. Maybe. But yeah, honestly, I had no idea what the point of the cost increase was, because I interpreted it as an in-play cost increase. I was hoping that maybe one of you would have an idea of what it's supposed to be about. But also, I guess I just like the fact that it's an ooze. Before I realized that this is not actually a 1-cost ooze, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
Greaves, what do you think of this?
That's great.
Korn has one shtick when it comes to designs. He's trying to put too many ideas for different archetype support cards into one specific card. and then they end up like this.
I
Where
mean,
you can
okay,
say-
okay. I will
wait
not
a second,
tolerate
wait a
corn
second.
slander in my house.
Wait a second. I haven't finished. I can see the thought process here, like, okay, this has Mistfist support stuff, this promo, self-balance to the cost, shenanigans, reanimator, cost range stuff, so on and so forth. But that's pretty much unnecessary. The core idea of the card is kill a dude, kill one of your dudes on summon above the board. The most confusing part about this card is just the cost increase. Cut that, and most of the confusion is gone. Rebalance the cost to accommodate for that. Done. No need for a flow shard of potential non-existent interactions to be accounted
I
for.
love Corn's flow charts. It's just sometimes they do get too much, and I think this is a too much.
Exactly.
Half the time it's bottled brilliance, and half the time it's bottled something else, and you don't know what bottle you're getting. It's like just open up the subreddit. I don't know. I can't say I like this one in particular, although it's interesting and experimental, and I definitely think it was worth talking about on the show.
Definitely.
It was sitting at like 1. Oh, that was actually our last pick.
Yep. We've breezed through it today.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess we can maybe have the discussion about how long we think these episodes should be, but that's a whatever. Thank you very much, Magneto, for joining us today. I am so glad to see you back.
And he's gone again. She's gone again.
Well, what am I supposed to say in this
you.
part again? Right, thank you.
Also, a summon effect. It's something that happens.
Oh, right, summon effect.
No. Okay, thank you, Magneto, for being on the show. Our puzzle is complete. We have our missing piece back. Thank you also to my regular co-hosts, Grief, who is in the dark, and Empty, who is in the light. Thank you, Grief.
You're welcome.
Like, comment, and subscribe. Remind me why I'm doing this show. Send your favorite panelist a little message on Discord, and we promise that the other panelists will not brag that you're the favorite panelist of the other one. So, or your favorite panelist is the other one. So yeah, like, comment, and subscribe. Remind me why I'm doing the show. Keep on playing collective and keep on voting on cards. Bye.
See you, folks.